Hi everybody, my name is Dawn McKay. I'm the nursing supervisor at Aurora Memorial Hospital of Burlington. Wendy asked me to come talk with you regarding my role in the EPIC implementation and go live. I just recently graduated from the master's degree program here at Concordia, so I now have my master's degree in nursing and nursing education. So I am proof that you can do it. I have been with Aurora for 17 years, and I am currently, as I said, the nursing supervisor. I started out being a secretary, a HUC, a CNA, went up to the ICU with my RN degree, and recently, about a year and a half or so ago, decided to take on a leadership management role. And I am kind of considered right now an interim manager without actually having the title. So there was a couple of different reasons why I was chosen to be a credential trainer for EPIC, and that was, I think, because I'm a leader, I'm an educator, I'm also salary, which helps them make those monetary decisions, and I am very accessible to the staff because my office is right on the regular floor. After they had chose me as a credential trainer, I had to go ahead and choose the super users to go in and teach the end users how to use EPIC. So some of the reasons why I chose the super users was because they had positive attitudes, they had good educational skills, and they had patience with patients and with staff. So some of the reasons or some of the things that I had to look for when I was in my EPIC training or the credential training as a leader was that I had to be budget conscious. I had to make sure that I walked a tightrope. I had to make sure that the census was taken care of with the patients as well as the staff. We had to make sure that the staff was getting all of the support that they needed without actually going over the budget requirements that we were given. I also had to make sure that our deadlines and our timelines were met. So we had, before we actually had gone to the classes, we had to meet weekly for these meetings with the whole EPIC team, and we had to learn a little bit about the EPIC program, I guess. And that was a little bit of foreign language for us. We really didn't know what we were listening to. All of the words and everything were completely new to us. So it would have been really helpful to kind of have a little bit of experience with that and just be acclimated a little bit better before we actually started those meetings. Then we, as credential trainers, we also had to go for 2 weeks up here to Fox Point, and we had to learn how to be educators. So the first day was completely just a class on how to learn, how to be an educator, how to teach appropriately, and the different ways of the learning and teaching styles. So while we were up there for 2 weeks, we had to learn how to teach. We had to teach each other. We had to do teach back. And at the very end of the 2 weeks, we had to do a proficiency test to make sure that we were proficient in teaching. We also had to go up there for 5 more weeks to teach the end users. And that was quite a drive for everybody, every day, Monday through Friday. So we went there for 5 weeks to do that. And then afterwards, we also provided one-on-one support for 24/7 for 2 weeks. So we had a very, very busy schedule for quite some time. The very first night of Go Live, we had super users and credential trainers and other staff members that we had selected, and we had asked them to come in the night before, and each one of the different departments had their own job and their own timelines that they had to get information from our old electronic healthcare record into our new electronic healthcare record. The other credential trainers that I had working alongside of me on my team consisted of nurse educators, CNSs, supervisors, managers, a certified informatics educator, and house supervisors. We had a couple of the end users, as I said, were super users. We had a shared go live with another hospital in the South region, which was very difficult. That created a lot of challenges. We had to split our resources, and that's one of the things that me being as a leader that I had to really deal with as well. We had to kind of learn by trial and error between both of the hospitals, but I think that the group that we had and I think that the educators that we had, we all worked together really well, and I think that's why we are all kind of chosen to work together. After we had the 2 weeks of training for us and the 5 weeks, we were actually required to teach 17 classes, and the 17 classes consisted of 15 RN classes and 2 CNA classes. I was also dual credentialed in CNA as well as the RN, and then the HUCs too, so I was credentialed in HUC training as well. Can you pause me for a second? Okay, so some of the challenges that we faced when we had 2 hospitals go live was that we had to split our resources. We had credential trainers, super users in both different areas, and of course they talked to each other, and we found out that one hospital was doing something completely different than the other hospital. And we also had to share not only our resources, internal resources, but we also had to share the EPIC team. So the EPIC team came down to our facilities, and they normally stay for 2 full weeks, and we had shortened amount of time for them to be there, so we had to really kind of beef up our game to be able to be there and be complete support for the staff. We had half of the EPIC team at one hospital and half of the EPIC team at the other hospital, and it was a little challenging at times to get a hold of them because of that. So we had to have a lot of patience with the staff. We had to allow them to kind of vent to us. We had to have all of our resources available, which would be our notes and our books that we had been provided, just so that we can, provide the staff with the adequate support that they needed, because they were all challenged and they were all stressed out. We did actually have a very successful go live, and I think that's because of the team that we had and because the people that we had chosen to be on our team, the super users and credential trainers, because it was a lot of positivity. One of the roles of being a leader is that you have to kind of stop the negativity and stop the, just kind of provide some positive feedback. Some of the other challenges that we had to face with leadership is that all of the EPIC training was done on an off-site, so it was done up here at Fox Point, and for most of the people that had to go to training, that was about an hour or so drive each way for them. So one of my responsibilities that I had was actually to provide some great communication to all the staff. So I had meetings, I had newsletters, I had huddles, I sent out emails, and I gave them all of the information, announcements and such, to make them kind of feel a little bit more comfortable about going up to Fox Point for the training. So simple things like where to park, how to get there, the restaurants, I let them know to pack bags, schedule themselves to drive with somebody else, coffee cups and all of that stuff. And I think that just providing that support for them and giving them a little bit of a heads up really kind of helped to alleviate their stresses a little bit. Also, as a leader, it was also my job to acknowledge their stresses, as I said, and just kind of let them vent and then celebrate their successes as well. Can you pause me? I'm sorry. Okay, so sorry about that. I'm just trying to read my notes here as I go along so I can touch on everything. So some of the other things that I had done with them is just make sure that, as I said, that they knew to grab, coffee cups and water bottles and all of that good stuff and snacks, and I think that just kind of helped to alleviate their stresses. I think that they felt, that I valued their time and that, I respected them as members of the team, and I just provided them with some support. I also did the best that I could to make sure that the people that they wanted to ride up with and train with all day, that they would be able to have the day off together, but it was a little bit challenging, to say the least, when it came to big groups of people, because I had to have staff on the floor to make sure that we are, that we are working with the patients and adequately taking care of them. So one of the other challenges too with going live with another hospital is that we really didn't have very many resources to pull from, because normally we would be able to pull from other hospitals from our South region, and we didn't get that opportunity because we had another hospital go live with us and they had just as many challenges as we did. So some of the fun things that we had done, because we had some stresses going on in the first week of go live, is that we actually gave away a gift to the person who had the first successful admission, and we gave away a gift to the first successful discharge. So they were actually fighting for the first admission and discharge, which is actually unheard of. We also had a lot of people coming in and working extra shifts because they knew that the EPIC team was going to be there and that our credentialed members, credentialed trainers were going to be there. And so we had a lot of people asking to come in to work extra shifts so that they could get acclimated and not be lost when the EPIC team and when the credential trainers actually went back to their other jobs. Which brings me to another point of one of our stressors or our challenges is that the 3 people that we had on my floor as our credential trainers, one was myself as the nursing supervisor, the other was a nurse educator, and the other one was the CNS for the floor. And we were expected to provide 24-hour support for them 7 days a week for 2 weeks. And so the 3 of us really had to be very creative in how we were going to staff the floor and make sure that we were available for the staff. And not only that, but we also had to make sure that our regular jobs were getting done as well. So that was very challenging. I think that we kind of, we all got together and we still meet to this day and we discuss, you know, the things that we think that we did well and things that we think that could be done better. And we have passed them on to the next go-live hospitals. One of my other jobs or one of my other roles as a credential trainer is that when we have new employees who are hired or we have other sites that go live, I also have to be a support for them so I can get pulled from my job at any time to go and be support for them and to go teach other classes here in Fox Point as well. One of our other staff members, our credential trainers from our ICU, has actually been traveling to, she's actually supported 2 other go-lives since then, and one in Green Bay and one in Manitowoc, and she's the first person who's actually been asked to do that from our facility. Otherwise, the rest of us are just kind of waiting to get called up, kind of like being in the military. Can you think of anything else off the top of your head?
I actually have a question for
Okay.
you. What were your first thoughts when they came to you and asked you if you would be willing to step into this position? How did this all come about?
Well, I wasn't asked to be part of this. I was kind of told that I was going to be, which was fine with me because I felt like they respected me enough and my leadership and educational skills that they respected me enough to be able to provide that education and support to the end users and the other staff. I also thought that, sure, this is going to be great because I'm going to have weeks away from my office and I won't have to deal with being on the floor with staff and patients, and this is going to be a nice little break. And although it was a nice little break because we laughed a lot with the group that we just laughed and laughed and laughed. It was a really great group. However, I did miss 9 weeks in my office and I came back to a pile of stuff that I'm still once in a while sifting through.
Oh my goodness. What other challenges were going on in your life during all of this?
I had no other challenges.
Oh,
I was just finishing up. I was in my last semester of grad school. So I was trying to do my clinical hours. I was trying to teach EPIC. I was trying to be a mom and a wife. I also, you know, because I had worn myself down, I wasn't feeling well. I had a lack of sleep. And so we had a lot of challenges. All of us did.
Mm-hmm. Now I forgot. What was the other question? If you could do it all over again, what would you do differently?
I don't think that I could have done anything differently. I don't think that our team could have done anything differently. I really think that the hospital and the EPIC team could have done a lot of things a lot differently.
Such as? Such
as providing, I am a strong believer after going through this that EPIC should provide their own teaching team to come in to teach and not have staff from other hospitals come in to do that because your staffing levels then drastically drop. In the first couple of weeks that we went go live, our staffing ratios were probably 2 or 3 patients to 1 RN just so that they could get used to the program and mm-hmm. staffing. After that, we kind of increased their census up a little bit. I would probably I think just be more involved with the decisions that were being made instead of decisions being made for us.
I remember you writing that in one of your journals. What specifically do you mean by being involved? What message would you like the students to know to ask for themselves if they're ever presented with a major, major change like this?
Basically just to make sure that you know what your stress level is, where your tipping point is, and making sure that you know who your resources are, and going to those people and asking for help. Never let yourself just drown, and you have to be strong enough to actually ask for help. Asking if you can be involved with more of the planning meetings, because sometimes people have, outsiders have a little bit of different ideas on how things can be run more efficiently and smoothly.
So you had the sense that by the time it got to choosing the credentialed super users, that quite a few of the decisions had already been made for the hospital, and perhaps not really truly seeking guidance from those who are going to be using it at the point of care.
Right.
Okay.
Right, and that's because I think that their Epic rollouts, I think, are all the same. It doesn't really depend on the hospital that you're working for. And if anybody is familiar with our Aurora South region, we're a little bit unique, and we didn't have any of that uniqueness at all. It wasn't even thought of. We're part of a larger system, and all of the other hospitals that had gone live before us had paved the way for us, but we were still dealing with upgrades, IT problems, old equipment, and all of those things as we were going live too.
From my own experience working at an Agnesian system when they went live with Cerner at the time, and working at St. Mary's in Madison when they went live with Epic, that's a common thread. Two completely different electronic health record providers, but this was probably 6 years ago when they were really just coming on board. And I'm a little disheartened to hear that they really haven't changed anything in all of that time. Like you said, they have a basic rollout plan. It's cookie cutter. And that is really a challenge that they need to meet. They're not listening. And that's one of the major things that the students are reading about, is they need, to listen and get everybody involved and get everybody at the table who is essential. And sometimes it's not the top leadership that needs to decide who is essential to have at that table. So
the end users really had a lot of great ideas as we were rolling this out and changing things. They had a lot of great ideas. However, because it's a system-wide thing, we really didn't have much say in how things were done.
And that's unfortunate, because I think some of the problems could have been avoided if you had been asked, and that would make people feel much more essential to the process and much more likely to buy into the process and not perhaps complain as much or push back when there's this major change happening. So I think that was my experience or my thoughts in this when I did it too.
That was the buy-in was a huge challenge for us, because we had just, I don't remember what we had just rolled out right before that, but instead of giving a little bit of time for that to kind of kick in, they just rolled something else out, Epic, as a big rollout right away. We had a lot of staff who were very negative about it and didn't buy into it, and we had to provide a lot of positivity. We had to bring in travelers who are hired specifically to travel around and support the Epic Go Lives, and we had to have them come in and talk with staff and let them know that Epic is actually a great product, and how to use it appropriately, and that it can make their lives a lot easier. So I think that having the traveling staff come in to help us and provide that positivity really helped.
However, if the staff had been more a part of the initial conversations, those folks' energies, time, could have maybe been used somewhere else and made it a much more overall positive experience for everyone.
Right.
Instead of running around putting out fires.
Right.
That may never have erupted or been sparked in the first place if they had a little more attention paid to them at the beginning. So-
Right, and I just, I had one of my coworkers who works in the ICU who is a credential trainer with me, and I just met with her yesterday and asked her what she saw as the differences in our Go Live and other Go Lives, the other 2 Go Lives that she had done, and she said that the other 2 Go Lives actually went much more smoothly. And we don't know if that's because we are part of the South Region group where things are a little bit unique, or if it's because they learned from our mistakes.
Oh, well, but you said you gave feedback.
We did.
And so that's be willing to stand up and give the positive along with the needs improvement, and hopefully someone actually listens. But maybe they did, so that would be good. So, okay. That's all I can think of. I just wanted to say thank you to Dawn to coming in, being willing to come back here to campus one more time after graduation and sharing with all of you. And I wanted you to have a more personal insight as to what was going on behind the scenes with what is likely to have been in your world an experience as a on-the-floor bedside care nurse. And maybe understand now from a leadership perspective some of what was going on and what you witnessed on the receiving end of it. And it is likely that we're going to have major updates to EPIC. There's going to be additional training, and perhaps as a BSN prepared nurse you will be asked to step into a leadership role, and perhaps you're going to go in with your eyes a little more wide open after listening to Dawn. So thank you again. Hope everyone enjoyed this.